Hello and welcome to Morning Brew with me, Graham Hughes. It is Wednesday, believe it or not, the 3rd of May 2023. I hope you're hearing me loud and clear. I hope you can see me. I hope the sun is shining. The sun is shining. It's still bloody cold though. We haven't got the heat up north yet. So big hello to everyone in the chat there. We've got loads of people in the chat today. We've got Reagan Elite. Thank you very much, Reagan, for stepping in yesterday and blocking that troll. I was trying to do it myself, but my software let me down. I couldn't block him, so thank you very much for doing that. JJR is there as well, just Johnny Copperhead, City Life. Anya is there, Danilo, and Cathal, and Master Templar, and Dana and Bennett. Well, everyone's here. Daily Blase, hi Darren, and we've got number 3, hi Richard. No inane music, or so I thought at first, so it started, hey, listen, if you want to write some music for me, and I'll put it at the beginning of the show, please feel free. Copyright free. Yeah, that's what I'm saying. It's not very good, is it? It's copyright free music. What do you expect? Anyway, send me loads of money and I'll get the license to play some Ramones or something. Morning, I have been keeping an eye on the Daily Mail comments. Disgusting, I know. Disgusting habit. I know. Like picking your nose and eating it, Houghton 1, 2, 3. Reference combination. Surprisingly negative towards it all. I think the shine has worn off the crown. Well, hopefully. I don't think that Charlie's going to be very popular as king. I'm not like, everyone loved the Queen because she was like the nation's grandmother and she sort of kept to herself. Charlie has a lot of issues, doesn't he? He has a lot of issues. People just don't like him. He's not very personable. He doesn't seem like a sweet old gentleman. He seems like quite abrasive character. He comes across to a lot of people, and a lot of people are never going to forgive him for what he did to Princess Diana. I'm not saying that he, drove her car into a wall or anything in a tunnel. I don't think he did that, but he did cheat on her throughout her marriage with Camilla Parker Bowles, who's now going to be our queen. And you know what? At the end of the day, look, I'm probably never going to get married. The whole marriage thing to me is a little bit... and, the idea of standing up in front of all your friends and family and saying, this thing will definitely go on forever and ever for the rest of my life. It'll never end. I'll never change my mind, or the circumstances won't change, or whatever. I just think it's a little bit, I don't know, beyond my capabilities. I don't like promising things that I don't know if I can necessarily deliver. But yeah, so he made these marriage vows, and look, if it was anyone else, so what? Marriages don't work, they fall apart, great. I think it should be harder to get married and more easy to get divorced. That's my own opinion on it. But it was the fact that he is now, or he was going to be, and now is, the head of the Church of England. The same Church of England that wouldn't let my parents marry in a church because my dad was a divorcee. And now yeah. And before you start talking about Henry VIII and how he got loads of divorces, he didn't. He annulled his marriages. He didn't actually get divorced because divorce was still not a thing back then. Anyway, yes. Wow, we've got loads of people a bit pissed off with the likes of Owen Jones hammering John Starmer for accepting the economic reality of tuition fees. Is there no pragmatism anymore? That's from Johnny Copperhead. Well, I think Owen Jones just likes to be trending on Twitter, and he knows that the best way to do that is to not attack the Tories in the week that we're having local elections that could see the Tories lose up to 1,000 seats around the country if we all put our minds to it and our shoulders to the mill, the gristle. I don't know what the expression is. Anyway, the Rock. No. But yeah, instead he's having a go at Keir Starmer because that's what Owen Jones does. He just snipes from the sidelines at anyone who's in charge in Labour. He did this to Corbyn as well, even though now he's like a born-again Corbynista for some reason. But he's not a very... I don't know. I had a run-in with him at the Labour Party conference last year, and we had a little bit of a discussion, should we say. It wasn't a stand-up row, although we were standing up and we were rowing. But... yeah, he does seem absolutely convinced of his own holy mission, I guess, which is to stop Labour from winning an election ever. I suppose. I don't know what goes through his head. But yesterday, he went on one of the GMTVs or something, one of the early morning shows. And he just spent the whole time slagging off Keir Starmer. And one of the things he mentioned was the fact that Keir Starmer has backtracked on getting rid of tuition fees. And as Johnny says in the comments there, yeah, there is an economic reality behind it. I would like to see tuition fees rebranded as a graduate tax. So if you finish university, you pay a graduate tax. And you only start paying that after you earn, say, $30,000 a year. So you can afford it, right? And it's an extra percent or something on your income, or whatever it is, or whatever metric they sort out. Because at the moment, the idea of saddling people who are already struggling, young people, with the cost of living, not being able to ever afford a house, and then saying, listen, why don't you go to university and then you can be saddled with £56,000 of debt? Now, to a lot of Tories and Tory voters, that's nothing. That's chicken feed to them because they're rich. I mean, mostly. I mean, you've got to be stupid if you vote Conservative and you're not rich. But that's not my deal today. He had this go at Starmer, and it's like, well, I understand to some extent changing the system so that you don't have people leaving university and thinking, oh my God, I've got all this money to pay off in the future, and looking at it instead as an extra layer of tax if you can afford to pay it back. Because at the moment, that's what it is. If you can't afford to pay off your student loan, you don't have to pay it off, which is why your generous, humble host here is still not paid off his student loan after 25 years because I've never earned enough to have to pay it back. Cheers. Anyway, gets written off late this year. Great system. Do you know what though? If it was public money, I would feel very, very bad about that. But it's not public money. It's actually private money from a company called. It used to be Student Loans Company. Now it's Durio or something. I can't remember. And every year I have to submit my bank statements to say, look, I'm not earning enough to actually have to pay back my. And it's kind of demeaning, do you know what I mean? I'd just rather it was an automatic system where, okay, you earned that much this year, so you've got to pay an extra level of tax because you've got a degree, or a master's, or a PhD. I mean, I would get rid of them entirely if it was economically feasible. But I don't think that the way that the system's now set up, I don't think it's ever going to be possible to put the genie back into the bottle, unfortunately. Anyway, so. Back onto the topics here. Owen Jones and others are like MAGA, devotion to Corbyn, blind love. Yeah, but Owen Jones used to criticise Corbyn. There's quite a few tweets back in the day where he was like, Corbyn's never going to win an election. Be sensible, Labour. Yeah, I don't know what happened there. You're right. Jones needs to concentrate on getting the Tories out. Absolutely, Patrick, and so do we. Anyone got any recommendations for a decent desk office chair that's comfy and doesn't feel like sitting on concrete, that is cheap and can handle being sat on for hours at a chair? I don't know, Vendetta. The chair that I sit on, I got free with this desk that I got off Gumtree, so I'm probably not the best person to ask. Morning, my fellow Blue. Looks like we'll be playing the Championship next season. That's from Aki's Mad. Yeah. So Everton drew on Monday night and against Leicester. It was a good game actually. It was 2-2. We're second from bottom in the league. This is Everton, the original and best Liverpool team. The Kentucky Fried Chicken of Liverpool, the Coca-Cola of Liverpool, the original. The prototype, that not some cheap inferior production model like Liverpool Football Club. We're not going to get into the football, but I have actually placed a bet on Everton going down. The reason being is that if they do go down, I'm going to be heartbroken because you got to understand, Everton really don't go down. They have got the most seasons played in the top flight of any team in the league. It's 120 seasons now, I think. 120. Yeah, it's something insanely high. And the next one is Aston Villa with 109, and then Liverpool with 108. I think it might have gone up one since I last checked the stats. But the point being that it does look like Everton's going down. So I placed a small bet on it. So if they do go down, at least I win 20 quid. Anyway, hey, worth a go in case anyone here knows. I mean, yeah, Vendetta, go for it. Are they going to get points deducted? I don't think so. I don't know about that. I've not heard it, but they are at the bottom of the league pretty much at the moment. This has only just appeared on my listing, says Stephanie Wilson. Sorry I am late. It's all right. You are forgiven if it's only just appeared. Just don't do it again now. past. You can always rewind it to the beginning. We need some form of free tuition, even if it's limited to demand jobs in Britain. Needs investment in its people, says Lawrence. Yeah, I agree. I absolutely agree with what you're saying there. I've got nothing. I can't argue for tuition fees. I thought they were a bad idea when they were brought in 1997. I think they're a bad idea now. I struggle with supporting Starmer myself, even though I hate the Tories. I'm far from convinced they would ever change the system, and we need to do that, or the evil Tories will be back later on. I understand that, but at the moment, Richard, we need to get the Tories out first. Let's get the Tories out, and then we can work on Starmer, which is one of the reasons why Labour Social exists. Welcome. When Owen Jones went down a lot in my estimation when he labelled himself a reluctant Remainer. Yeah, he didn't do anything to support our cause against Brexit, knowing that it was going to be an absolute freaking disaster. But then, some people just want to watch the world burn, I guess. City Life 2050 says mine was written off 2 years ago. Good on you. Exactly. If you just never really succeed in life, then you never have to pay it back. Yay! I don't know if that's a good thing or not. I bet on Brexit for the same reasons. Won 10 grand. Still stings. Bloody 10 grand! Bloody hell, Jason! I don't have that kind of money. I'm gonna win like 20 quid if that. I finally got my poll card yesterday, last minute. TW at. We need completely free tuition for everyone and also abolish public schools. I absolutely agree with you on the whole getting rid of private schools. I hate them. I think they are a blot on the imagination landscape and social fabric of the United Kingdom. They are machines of privilege. They are see you next Tuesday farms. They destroy lives. They impinge the freedoms and the life chances of everyone who didn't go to those schools. The top jobs are hogged, and I mean hogged. You look at the list on privateschoolmedia.com of over 570 people in the public eye who all went to private school. It's everyone you see on TV. It's everyone you see in the news. It's everyone you see in politics. It's most of our musicians now. It's most of our sports people. It's all of our actors who ever get to win an Oscar. It is just insane, the privilege that you are given if you go to private school. And James O'Brien went to private school. He sends his kids to private school. And he says, well, look, I'd rather they didn't exist, but they do, so I have to do this because I want my kids to get a leg up. And I had someone on Twitter yesterday saying the same thing. They said, my kids go to private school, but I would shut them down tomorrow. Or I went to private school, I would shut them down tomorrow. But they exist, so I use them. And that's why they need to go. It's like people who smoke in pubs. It's horrible for everyone who in the pub who doesn't smoke. And it kills them. And so they had to make a law to say, no, sorry, all pubs have to be no smoking. Which I completely 100%, as someone who worked in a bar, completely agree with. Owen Jones has a point. If the party has no weight, why should the manifesto? Well, Ian, the manifesto's not out. I mean, let's weigh up the manifesto promises when the manifesto comes out. The idea that Starmer promised a bunch of stuff and then didn't really deliver on them. If you look back at what Starmer actually said, he never said, look, I promised to get rid of tuition fees and I will nationalise the railways and I will do this, I'll do this. He was more talking about a more progressive, fairer, more inclusive politics. And his big agenda when he got into Labour was A, get rid of anti-Semitism, which he has done. He stamped it out quite effectively. And 2, get the Labour Party 20 points ahead in the polls, which he's done. So both of those things, whether by accident or design, they were the 2 major things that Labour had to get done. And now, yeah, we're going to quibble about policy, and I get that. But one of the reasons why Labour Social exists is to give a telephone line, if you like, to the Labour Party, to the people who are going to be in power probably by the end of next year, and have that 2-way conversation where we get to leave our comment. Oh, the comments aren't here anymore. We get to leave our comments. I guess they're on this side on YouTube, I guess. Depends what you're looking at on the laptop or not. I suppose they're underneath. Look, these comments down here, if you're on your phone. But yeah, we'll be able to actually have that 2-way conversation, which we don't have at the moment with the Tories because we're not millionaires and we didn't go to school with them. Independent schools entrench inequality of opportunity from Pineapple Boy. Yes, they do, mate. You said that very eloquently. It could all be distilled into the phrase. Yes, indeed. Freckle Puny, the hard work is not getting the Tories out of office. It's keeping them out for at least half a generation. The Tories need to learn from their mistakes almost as much as we need to be free of them. Yeah, Freckle Puny, I absolutely 100% agree with you. I know, but it's like we have to do A in order to achieve B. A is get the Tories out. That is the first and most important thing that we need to do. And if that means getting people on side that we wouldn't normally want to get on side, we need to do that because we live in a first past the post system. Unfortunately, it's a crap system. I want it changed. I hope Labour change it. I really hope Labour changes it. Don't forget, the vast majority of members of Labour do not want first past the post. And now the unions have come on board as well and said a lot of the unions do not want first past the post. And there was a resolution passed in the last Labour conference to say we want to have PR. And Starmer's like, oh, I'm not sure about that. But with the weight of expectation of people who are actually Labour members, I think that is something that is definitely on the agenda for the next Labour administration, which I hope is just a year and a half away. Because, oh my God, the Tories, like, oh my God. Sorry, Graham, but my Lexicon pledge is a synonym for promise. Yeah, I know. I mean, I think that I don't want to make excuses for Starmer because I'm not a massive Starmer fan. I just don't want the Tories to win. And I think that maybe he's banking on the fact that we don't want the Tories to win and that we'll do everything in our power to get the Tories out. But, you know, that means tactical voting. If that means me telling you to in your constituency to vote for the Greens or the Lib Dems or the SNP or Plaid Cymru in the general election or even on Thursday, yeah, I will do that. Do you know what I mean? Because my number one thing now is get the Tories out. And I don't think a change of guard at Labour is going to produce any kind of like big bump in the polls for the Labour Party over the Tories at this stage. I really just don't think it. I think that Starmer, he's someone that most people find inoffensive. I know that the Corbynistas find him very offensive, but they are a very loud and shrill, but minority. They are still a minority. Very loud and shrill, but a minority nonetheless. My parents made sacrifices to put me through grammar school. Ironically, that academic qualification helped me analyse and challenge the status quo. That's number 3. Yeah, I mean, I support grammar schools more than I support private schools because anyone can go to a grammar school. Technically, the school I went to was a selective comprehensive. It's now a grammar school. It was kind of a grammar school, but it wasn't quite a grammar school, because they didn't have grammar schools in the 90s for some reason. But we had kids from all over Liverpool. We had kids from North Liverpool. We had kids from Walton, from Norris Green, from Old Swan. We always just get the bus back home together. And so it meant people from all walks of life went to that school and got a really good education, a better education than they would have got in one of the comprehensives in Liverpool. However, having said that, all things being equal, I would like to get rid of grammar schools as well. But we've got to get rid of the independent schools first. Get rid of the private schools. Get rid of them. Not just making them pay tax, which, yeah, is a first step towards abolition. Get rid of them. Maybe just have them for people who aren't British. And then we can still make loads of money from people who are rich from other countries who want to spend their money here. And stop this whole system in which if you want a 6-figure job in this country and you didn't go to private school, good luck with that. Graham, I have an old website with a load of free download music. They're all free, and you can use them if you use any if you can. If I can find it, I can send you the link if you want. Yes, JD Blase, I would really like that. Thanks, Darren. Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be fantastic. I'm worried the Tories will completely destroy NHS dentistry before the next election. Another bit of the NHS gone to the private sector completely. Yeah, Patrick. Yeah. Talking to friends of ours over the weekend, they needed to get their kid in for braces. 2-year wait. 2-year wait to see an orthodontist unless they paid £5,000. Tory Britain. The Tory sewage party. Don't forget, the guy who ran the Tory sewage party for a few years, Boris Johnson, called £250,000 chicken feed. So what's £5,000 to him? Loose change? For one of his 17 children. Thanks, Thanks for answering my question, Graham. I agree, but I'm worried too much will be sacrificed. I'm voting Green tomorrow to get rid of the blue in my life. Oh, good. Good, Ian. If you go to stopthetories.vote, it's a tactical voting website that's been set up by friends of mine who have been working on it really, really hard, because don't forget there's over 1,000 seats up for grabs. And they've put this tactical vote site together, stopthetories.vote. And if you have a look on there, it will tell you who the most likely person to beat the Tories in your ward is. And yes, it's not infallible. It's not 100%. And there might be some mistakes in there somewhere along the line. But it's the only one for local elections. So you're not going to go to two different sites and get two different answers, like what happened in the last election with the tactical vote sites, because there were too many of them. And also the fact that it is a local election means that, as Phil said, the other day on his brilliant video about this website, you only need like a handful of people to sway the votes in lots of these places. I mean, it awards a very small area. It's usually a few streets, if that. And then you think about who's going to bother voting, and the fact that there's going to be at least 1 million people who might vote, want to vote, who don't have ID. I don't even know that you need ID in this upcoming local election tomorrow, because the Tories didn't bother telling them. When I was driving down the motorway in October 2019, I remember signs up on the motorway. You know, the signs that tell you there's a sheep in the road or whatever. The accident ahead, queue ahead, right? It had get ready for Brexit or something like that written on the motorway sign. So you knew that we were going for a no-deal Brexit. We're going to, yes, let's go WTO, scrapping every single one of our trade agreements overnight and forcing WTO tariffs, which were astronomical on everything that we import. Absolutely everything. We had to put tariffs on everything that we sell as well. So it would just be an absolute cluster F. But yeah, we got the motorway signs were telling us of this thing that didn't actually end up happening. Whereas, my friends, hardly anyone knows about the fact that you need ID to go and vote, because most people don't take a lot of notice of politics because they're too busy getting on with their lives. And, you know, we like politics, don't we? Yay, that's why we're here. But most people, it's another thing in their life. And I know people, and I sometimes get like this myself, to be honest with you. I think, bloody hell, I don't want to know. Wouldn't it be great just disconnect from the outside world and just not read the headlines for a couple of weeks, a couple of months, maybe a couple of years, and just not care, because you don't know to care. Every day it's just more bad news from the Tories on how our lives have got worse under the Tories, because the Tories cannot run a bath, never mind a bloody country. They're all overprivileged, underbrained idiots who are there to make a dirty buck. Why would one of the richest men in the country want to become Prime Minister? Why indeed? Why indeed? Rishi Sunak's worth over £700 million. £700 million. And yeah, he's got the finger on the pulse of the working class kids from Blackpool North. Yeah, sure he has. Oh, David Faulkner has dropped a super chat into the chat. Thank you very much for my 38 Hong Kong dollars. What a great idea, Graham. Promote private schools overseas for non-UK passport holders only. Yeah. Just get loads of money from people from other countries. I mean, it'll ruin their social system and their status. The caste system, whatever the system it is that keeps us in that. But it's class system even. But you know, that's their lookout, isn't it? I hate the fact that voters in their 20s can't remember, and a working effective NHS and all the other services that once were but are no more. Scott, yeah, I hate that as well. If you're voting for the first time in these local elections, you're 18 years old. You were 5. You were 5 years old the last time that the NHS was any good. Well, I mean, it was pretty good for the first few years of the Tory administration because they didn't manage to do enough damage by that point. But don't forget, like what's that horrible man? Jeremy. He's probably called Jeremy. All the horrible ones are called Jeremy. No offense, Jeremy, if you're watching this. Other Jeremy. Jeremy Hunt. That's it. He was in charge of the NHS under the Tories, wasn't he, back in the day? What's he doing these days? Anyway, he's not Chancellor of the Exchequer, is he? Oh my God, he's Chancellor of the Exchequer. After he did what he did to the NHS, did he apologise? He did apologise for that, didn't he? He said, I was really sorry for that thing that I did to the NHS because I made it awful. The motorway signs were sinister, says Patrick. Yeah, but at least you knew. Voter ID. They're not put signs up saying you're gonna need to take your ID. Gotta vote on Thursday. And you need your ID. And the way that some of these conservatives have frame this conversation like, oh yes, well, Labour and the SNP, they want 16-year-olds to vote because that young people vote for them, and they want people from the EU to be able to vote on the referendum because obviously their lives are going to be affected by it. But that's only the same thing because they knew which way they vote, and you're like, hang on, you are comparing expanding democracy and allowing more people to vote, thereby becoming more democratic, as being equal to becoming less democratic, to going towards voter suppression, to stop people from voting because you don't think they're going to vote your way. If you have a look on the pubcast that I posted yesterday with Bill Essers, and he does make a really good point, because I'm whittering on about the fact that Oyster cards in London, you can use your old person's Oyster card for ID, but you can't use your young person's Oyster card. And he said, well, we don't have too many Oyster cards up here in Merseyside. I said, that's a very good point, because he is the MP for Sefton Central, which is north of Liverpool. But he said, well, but you can't use your Merseyrail pass as ID, because they know that no one around here votes Tory. Great. Painful. Anyway, the motorway signs were sinister. Lots of private schools in Hong Kong. You got a vested interest. Then we have private schools in Spain following UK curriculum. 100%. Making Brexit work is a joke of policy. That's absolutely right. People make Brexit work. It's honestly like saying, I've got this rocket made of cardboard in my back garden. It rained overnight, so it's a little bit soggy, but I'm going to go to the moon in it. I'm going to make it work. And you're like, but it's a soggy cardboard rocket. There's literally no way it could work. There's just no, there's crazy people running off the end of the pier with their little crazy flying machines, flapping their wings, going, I'm going to make it work. I'm going to make it work. Oh, into the water. Yeah, great. You fascist hunter, the young ones reference there. I do like saying in the morning, I come out and go, bathrooms free, unlike the country under the Tory hunter. The same is true with bus passes. Old fogies like me can use our bus passes, but not teenagers who had to pay for theirs. That's from Stephanie Wilson. And it's funny that, isn't it, Stephanie? It's almost as if the Tories know that demographically young people are less likely to vote for them, and have thought of a canny way to suppress their vote. And then they've gone the extra mile by not telling people that they needed an ID to take with them. So they've tried to ensure that the IDs that they accept are the types of ID that Tory voters are more likely to have with them when they go to the polling station. You don't go to the polling station with your passport, do you? But you might go with your bus pass. Anyway, Martin Bennett says, there are plenty of valid criticism of Starmer, but none of Owen Jones's. Starmer may get into power, but I can't say that word. Pusillanimity. I don't know what that means, and it's too long a word for me. Over Brexit will hold back the economy and risk the Tories returning under first past the post. I mean, I get the impression that Starmer and Labour in general are being very coy about talking about Brexit. There's a few MPs like Stella Creasy who are prepared to say it's a disaster, we need to go back in. But most Labour MPs are sort of towing the line on this and saying, well, we're going to change the subject. And you notice they always change the subject. They go, it's done, we'll talk about that. Because they know that the Murdoch press and the Berkeley Brother press and the Lord Rothermere press will come down on them like a ton of bricks. They're looking for anything to hang on Starmer. They went, he bought a donkey sanctuary he bought a field for his mum to put donkeys in. Bastard. And then it was, he had a beer during lockdown. We saw him through a window in a private residence with a Zoom lens having a beer. Ah! and the actual footage was filmed by a Tory's son. I mean, it was just, oh my God. And that didn't work. So now they're going back to Sue Gray, who's working with Labour now, and apparently she shouldn't have been working for Labour because she was investigating Partygate. So, sorry, did that not happen? I mean, what? But it's okay when the Tories do something like that, where a civil servant say, I don't know, what's his name, Lord's dickhead, David Frost. Yeah, he was a civil servant, and he negotiated Brexit really, really badly. So everyone lost out. Everyone lost out, except for the EU, which did really well out of Brexit. We haven't. Ireland's done really well out. Ireland's done insanely well out of Brexit, and their GDP per capita has gone through the absolute stratosphere since Brexit, whereas Britain's has stuttered, stumbled, and pretty much collapsed from where it was. Anyway, but yeah, so yeah, they took David Frost and they made him a lord, a Tory lord, and then they brought him into the cabinet as a minister, didn't they? Wasn't he the opportunities of Brexit minister for a week or something? I can't. It's hard to keep up. It's hard to keep, even if you try to keep up, it's hard to keep up. The point being that it's okay when the Tories take a civil servant and make them political, but when it's the Labour lot, they do the same, almost the same, not quite the same thing at all. It's a big problem. And one of the things I think they're doing this about, banging on and on and on about this. It's on the front cover of a newspaper actually today. One of the newspapers actually has it on the front of the paper. Oh, there we go. It's the Guardian. Gray won't cooperate as inquiry report held. So they're doing an inquiry into Sue Gray becoming a Labour Party advisor or whatever it is. But it's okay when the Tories do it. It's just maddening. I love the hypocrisy, don't you? Anyway, I'm going to have to wrap up soon because it is 10:05. My God, these half hours fly by. I'm just time to quickly go through the papers. We got the lockdown at the Palace after man arrested in the Mail. That's also covered in the Mirror. We've got cold calling ban to fight financial fraudsters. Going to bring in a ban on cold calling. That might be a Tory policy I might actually agree with. The Financial Times, AI claims first scalp as shares in education sector tumble. Alarm over chatbots impact on sales. So shares in the education sector fell sharply yesterday as investors bet that artificial intelligence could upend business models promoted by revenue warning at EdTech company called Chegg. What a strange name. The Daily Telegraph is spies take the fight to scammers. Don't know what that's about. And then there's the Daily Mail is going on about this guy who threw shotgun cartridges over the wall at Buckingham Palace, I guess, to cause problems. The Guardian led on something that I was going to talk a bit more about today, but maybe I'll leave it tomorrow. New anti-protest powers rushed into law in time for coronation. This is going to stop people from walking slow on the road. This is going to stop people from chaining themselves to railings. This is going to stop with a sentence of up to a year in jail for being too disruptive in your protest. So this is going to force protesters to become A, more creative, and B, a bit more extreme, because if you're going to go to jail anyway, you may as well make it worth it, make that stretch worth it. Yeah. And the Daily Star leads with Operation Hide the Sausage, which is all about the operation to hide King Charles III's sausage fingers from public view on Saturday when he gets his blingy behatting ceremony that we have to pay for some reason. Thanks very much for the links there, Reagan Elite. Loving your work. We've also got Duke Vengeance saying sufferance is the conduit for vengeance. Which I like. James O'Brien is talking about the coronation again. Okay, well, off to James O'Brien we go. I was going to call in yesterday because he was talking about private schools, but it wasn't the right moment, I don't think. But I think you're right. But EU states will need to be assured that rabid Tories will not overturn rapprochement. with the EU. Oh my God, I'm just gonna give up. You're using too big of words for me to be able to read live on the show. James O'Brien is under Purdah. He is careful. I am not. Vote anyone but Tory tomorrow. All right, anyone but the Tories. Anyone, just anyone. Listen, okay, so I'm gonna head over to the Discord server now for some after hours chat. If anyone wants to join me over there, if you are a patron or a YouTube member, you get automatic access to the Labour Social Discord server. If you can't get on, can you send me a message via YouTube or via the Patreon, whether it's the Labour Social Patreon or my own personal Patreon, and I'll get you on there. I'm going to be on there pretty much all the way till Prime Minister's Questions at 12 o'clock today, and then we're going to do another live show talking about analysing, chatting, and talking about Prime Minister's Questions. And what I'm going to try and do this time, because I've got my things set up slightly differently, I'm going to try and pause the live stream, and actually, instead of talking over people talking, I'll be able to just put in my my 2 cents in between the next the questions. So I'm planning to do it like that, which will drag it out probably to almost an hour. Okay, bye all. It was overwhelming. Systems with foot power alone, participation in events, too many people simply overwhelms. Indeed. And Aki's Mad says, cheers, Graham. Good luck to all the peeps down south with your upcoming battle with the Tories. The bastard Tories. I know I'm not supposed to swear on this, but sometimes you just gotta swear. Okay, right, so thanks very much for watching. Thanks to all of my wonderful patrons and YouTube members, and to everyone who added to the chat today. And and for my super chats. And I will see you in a couple of hours for not safe for... Oh, sorry, not safe for work. Not safe for work. No. Safe for work. Prime Minister's Questions with me, Graham Hughes, at 12 o'clock today. Same bat channel, not same bat time. Obviously, it's a different time. Until then, I'll say hello, good evening, welcome, and goodbye.